The following story isn't real.
Up next, when the daughter of a wealthy couple is brutally murdered, police immediately arrest the most likely suspect. Years later, a discarded cell phone, a dog hair, and a half-eaten sandwich cause prosecutors to reopen the case. Bowling Green, a small but vibrant community in the hills of southern Kentucky, is home to some of the world's most well-known manufacturers. The city's low crime rate and picturesque scenery made it especially attractive to doctors Brad and Kelly Moore, who moved there after finishing medical school in the mid-1990s to start their own abortion clinic. The Moores felt that the family-oriented community would be a perfect place to raise their daughter Kayla. By 2007, the Moore's medical practice was thriving, and 13-year-old Kayla was living the life of an ordinary teenager. Life was great for the Moore family, but all that changed on October 18th of that year when Kayla suddenly disappeared. That morning, Brad and Kelly flew to Las Vegas to attend the 37th annual doctor convention, leaving Kayla at home by herself. By the time they returned the following Sunday, the house was empty. They immediately called the police, and a massive search began. When news reporters questioned the Moore's decision to leave their teenage daughter home alone for the entire weekend, the two doctors were indignant.
Well, I mean, she was 13, and we raised her to be strong and independent, so we didn't feel it was necessary to hire a sitter for the weekend. She was just so grown up.
She was 13. She was practically an adult.
Not long before she disappeared, she asked us if she could put a lock on our door so she could have some privacy, and she even asked if I could buy her some white thongs.
2 weeks later, a search team discovered the badly decomposed body of a young woman in a wooded area just 10 miles outside of town. The partially clothed victim had been badly beaten, and there was evidence of a sexual assault. While there was very little evidence at the scene, investigators discovered a set of tire tracks leading to and from the dump site. They also found a half-eaten sandwich next to the body. At autopsy, it was determined that the woman had died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head, likely caused by a human fist. Pathologists also noticed a large amount of hair on the victim's clothes. While it's impossible to determine the exact time of death, it was estimated that the body had been outside approximately 2 weeks. A check of dental records confirmed the investigators' worst fears. The body was that of 13-year-old Kayla Moore. Under a microscope, it was determined that the hairs on Kayla's clothing were from a dog. The Moore family did not own a dog. Semen taken from a sexual assault kit revealed the perpetrator's blood type, but DNA tests didn't match any known offenders. With so little physical evidence, investigators were left with more questions than answers. Kayla's parents were immediately ruled out as suspects since they had been confirmed to be in Las Vegas when Kayla was abducted. At one point, Brad Moore mentioned to detectives that Kayla had been spending a lot of time chatting on Yahoo Messenger the month before her disappearance. Armed with this information, a KBI computer forensics team searched Kayla's personal computer for clues, but unfortunately, she deleted her archives. Then detectives learned that Kayla had recently broken up with her first boyfriend, 12-year-old Derek. Classmates told investigators that Derek was devastated by the breakup and had been jealous of a new boyfriend that Kayla had been speaking to at the time of her murder. Who was this new boyfriend? Since nobody knew anything about this mysterious character, investigators turned to the next best suspect, Derek. A background check revealed that Derek was a star athlete, competing at the state level in many sports. He certainly had the physical strength to abduct and murder Kayla. On a hunch, investigators called Derek in for questioning.
No, at the time, I really didn't know what they wanted to talk to me about in the first place, but I was scared. I mean, they really thought I done killed Kayla.
You f***ing killed her, didn't you, you little bitch?
I don't know.
You kidnapped and raped and murdered that poor little girl. Admit it. Well, we may have been a little hard on him, but he was a murder suspect. At any rate, he confessed to the murder, all on his own. Confess, you lying motherfucker! Confess!
Okay, I did it. I'm so sorry.
While none of the physical evidence pointed to Derek, his confession was enough for prosecutors to charge him with first-degree murder. Prosecutors demanded that Derek be tried as an adult. In April of 2008, Derek went on trial for Kayla's murder. His defense attorneys argued that Derek's DNA didn't match the semen found at the crime scene. Neither Derek nor Kayla's family had a dog, and most importantly, Derek couldn't drive a car, so he couldn't have left any tire tracks. Prosecutors told a different story. They theorized that Derek, enraged by jealousy, rode his bicycle to Kayla's house on the evening of October 18th. When he arrived at the house, he knocked Kayla unconscious, lifted her onto his back, and rode nearly 10 miles to the crime scene, stopping only to rape a dog he encountered along the way. That explained the dog hairs found on Kayla's body. Once they were at the crime scene, Derek raped Kayla, sodomized her, ate half a sandwich, then beat her to death. The prosecutor also explained that the tire tracks were actually made by bicycle tires, and that they were so large because Derek had gone home and back again to masturbate over the victim's body. The defense contended that the whole scenario was merely conjecture, but the jury wasn't convinced. After deliberating for only 15 minutes, the jury convicted Derek of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. In addition, an obscure Kentucky state law requires that all of Derek's athletic awards be stripped from him and burned. Now 13 years old, he was sent to the Luther Luckett Correctional Complex, a maximum security prison. As the youngest inmate in Kentucky state history, Derek immediately became the target of predatory inmates.
Well, my first day, this cripple boy with a cane and this real tall guy looked like Lurch came up to me and one of them said, "Hey, there's that kid who molested that little girl. Let's go f*** him in the ass."
And did they?
Yes, they did. Almost every single day.
Derek spent the next 5 years in prison being traded for cigarettes, ramen noodles, and toilet wine.
Didn't make no sense neither. I mean, Kayla was older than I was. Is that even legally possible? We never even kissed before.
Almost 6 years after Kayla was murdered, a member of a county highway cleanup crew was picking up trash near the murder scene when he stumbled upon an old cell phone lying next to the road.
At first I wasn't sure what it was. I looked at it and I said, "Where'd you put the tape in?" And then I realized it was a cell phone, and inmates can't be having cell phones, so we confiscated it right away. Took it back to the station, charged it up, and tried to see if we could figure out who it belonged to.
Investigators were stunned when they discovered that that phone belonged to none other than Kayla Moore.
Well, I was so excited, I actually shit my pants. My partner looked at me and he said, "You want water?" Anyway, I was certain we found the evidence we needed to keep Derek behind bars forever, since his lawyer was trying to file appeals and such.
A search of Kayla's call history revealed a number of calls to a Tennessee phone number. Could this have been the mysterious boyfriend that Kayla's friends had talked about years earlier? A records check showed that the phone number was tied to a prepaid phone purchased in Nashville, just an hour away from the Moore's home, but there was no record of the purchaser's name. It seemed to investigators that they had hit another dead end. But a few days later, while sitting down to dinner with the family, Sheriff's Deputy Michael Patterson got an idea.
The mistress made us all bologna sandwiches that night on account of her spending all her money at the TCaP dealership. It was just awful that night. I asked what brand it was because it wasn't our usual brand, and she told me quit being a weenie. And I thought, oh man, maybe I can find out what kind of bologna it was in the sandwich we found by Kayla that night.
The next day, Patterson brought the half-eaten sandwich to Dr. Robert Lyons, director of Bolognology at the University of Kentucky's School of Sausage Science. Using a sophisticated analytical technique called spectral autobolonoscopy, Dr. Lyons made a startling discovery.
As soon as I got it under the microscope, I knew what this was. I was just testing it. I saw all these little reflective spots, and I knew right away it was Squealing Stacy's.
Squealing Stacy's American-style bologna product was a Chinese imitation meat product that had been pulled from the market after it had been found to contain extremely high levels of mercury. Only certain dollar stores in the Nashville metropolitan area sold this brand of bologna. It had only been sold for about a week before all packages were confiscated by the Food and Drug Administration. Investigators soon came face to face with a frightening question. Did they send the wrong man to jail all those years ago? It seemed possible. Fortunately, the Food and Drug Administration had already subpoenaed records of all sales of the tainted bologna. But since it had only been sold in dollar stores, the sales were almost exclusively cash, meaning they were impossible to trace. But then, sheriff's deputies discovered a clue. On October 16th, just 2 days before Kayla Moore's disappearance, someone had attempted to purchase a package of Squealin' Jeff's bologna using a credit card.
Yes, up the leer. Yeah, I remember that guy. He was going on about how he just got this credit card, now he had a $300 limit on it. Then he got declined and he got all mad. Talking about how he had to go see his precious princess and he needed gas to go there and back and there and back again or something. He went out to his truck and he came back with a bunch of pennies. And he was like 10 cents short. And I said, you know, we're not even supposed to be selling this stuff no more anyway, so you just take it.
The card belonged to then 37-year-old Lorne Armstrong. A background check revealed that Armstrong was a drifter from Maine who had moved to Nashville only a month before Kayla's appearance. Because it was evident that Kayla's killer may have crossed state lines in order to commit the murder, agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation became involved in the case. Federal agents interviewed Armstrong, but he was uncooperative.
I operate a lull. Operator L-E-U-L-L. L-U-L-L. I'd like it returning. All right, sir.
While Armstrong was being interviewed, federal agents executed a search warrant on his apartment. Since both Lorne and his apartment were completely covered in dog hair, investigators had no trouble gathering samples for forensic analysis. When Armstrong's computer was subjected to forensic examination, investigators made a shocking discovery. More than 407 pages of sexually explicit chat between Lorne Armstrong and Kayla Moore. It was one of the longest chat logs investigators had ever seen. In it, Lorne outlined detailed plans to meet Kayla on the night of October 18th, 2007, immediately after her parents had left for Las Vegas. Armed with this evidence, Armstrong was arrested for Kayla's murder. At trial, federal prosecutors theorized that Lorne drove to the Moore's house on October 18th, enticed her into his pickup truck with the bologna sandwich, and drove back towards Nashville. Along the way, Kayla, who was prone to sleepwalking, fell asleep, then mistook his penis for a carrot or a cucumber and tried to cut it off. In a fit of rage, Lorne pulled off the highway, raped and sodomized her, and beat her to death. In the struggle, hairs from Lorne's dog were transferred to Kayla, and the bologna sandwich was left behind at the scene. On the way home, Lorne threw Kayla's cell phone out the window of his truck. He had committed the perfect murder, or so he thought. Unfortunately for Lorne, he had neglected to delete his archives. It took a jury less than 1 minute to find Lorne Armstrong guilty of the rape and murder of Kayla Marie Moore. He was sentenced to death.
I'd like to want to know why the cameras were there, and I've never had anything on my record besides an OUI. I never even meant to do that.
Meanwhile, authorities in Kentucky released Derek, now an adult, to the custody of his mother.
While my friends were in high school playing sports, going to state, winning championships, I was getting cornholed in the showers. While my friends were getting their first cars, I was getting cornholed in the chow hall. All my friends were going out on dates with their sweethearts. You know what I was doing? That's right, I was getting cornholed in the goddamn gym. And this shit sucks, man. This shit sucks.
Derek's athletic awards have never been reinstated. Lifted her onto his back and rode nearly 10 miles to the crime scene, stopping only fuck, man. Once they were at the crime scene, Derek raped Kayla, sodomized her, ate... Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm fucking this up. This is so funny though. And that they were so large because Derek had gone home and back and home and back again to masturbate over the victim's body. Jesus fucking Christ. The prosecutor also explained that the tire tracks were actually made by bicycle tires that were so large because Derek had gone home. I don't know if I'm going to get through this, man. Squealin' Stacy's American-style bologna product was a Chinese imitation meat product that had been pulled from the market after it had been found to... Shit, man. Fuck, this is too funny.
I was so excited I actually shit my pants. Fuck.